And welcome back to our conversation on the Lean Project Canvas. If you've been following this video series, we've been going through this particular Lean Canvas example of setting up kind of a co-locator or a conference and networking center for people to jump in and have business meetings that perhaps don't have the cash flow to open their own office. They just need a rental office or a small space to do their work. And we've got to the point where we've pretty much fleshed out the canvas, but we have one last piece here called cost of delay. Now, what the cost of delay is, if we don't start the project right away, what are the potential changes in cost if we wait? So, for example, here's a little graph that I have here, and the cost of delay is always shown as a graph of cost versus time. And in this case, I'm showing a linear relationship as I wait, and the longer I wait, the more costly it will be to deploy this particular project. And we have to look at the context of where we're putting this project and prevailing things like minimum wages or wages in general and how they're moving, price of real estate, lease prices, capital costs, the amount that money is going to cost. So if interest rates are going up, then obviously your cost of delay is going to go up as well. So with this, for example, this is going to require, if we're looking at our solution, this is going to require some physical space that we're going to have to acquire. Now, location, when you're looking at physical space or places like this, there might be a business development that opens up in a pretty desirable area. So what that might look like is the cost of delay is going to start, there's going to be an amount of upfront that we're going to have to put in, but after that amount's going to go up, and it might actually increase maybe quite exponentially as spaces fill up within the development that I want. And in order to get somebody out of the space, I have to pay a lot more money in order to do that. So this depends on where I want to put the project, and there's other factors I'll have to research to determine where that cost of delay is going to go, and especially if the capital costs are going to increase, if we're looking at increase in lending rates, then that's something else that we have to consider in our cost of delay. Now, there's other assumptions that we can make here. For example, if there's a fee that's going to be, just say the cost of delay was, okay, it's going to cost a bit more, and all of a sudden there's this big increase, and then it jumps up. So maybe there's a tariff, or there's some sort of, if I don't do it by a certain amount of time, then an example might have been Vancouver. I live in Vancouver, and we put in a 15% foreign ownership tax. Now, it may not work for this particular solution, but if you wanted to purchase a real estate here in Vancouver, and you don't have permanent residence or Canadian citizenship, then at a certain point in time, a 15% tax is going to be levied. So that would relate to a cost of delay like this, where there's a jump up there. So it's either you buy early before that comes in, or afterwards, your price is going to be much higher. So this shows a bit of an urgency for us to get the project moving forward. Costs of delay don't always have to go up. So for example, there might be a bust period, just say we're in a recessional period and commercial office spaces opening up, and this may be a particular place where I can rent out or lease space, but in my particular area there's kind of a drop. If the largest amount of our cost structure is leasing space or getting the location for this, then we can look at, well, maybe we can wait a bit on this particular initiative until the point where those costs have come down, rents are coming down, we see that they're hitting a low plateau, then we can get in, we can lock in an agreement that works well for us, maybe get a 5-year agreement at a particularly good price, because we see the trend will be that there's going to be an upswing once some of the good property has been picked up or leased. Then the leftover property is not as desirable, not in a good enough location. So that cost of delay then will start to jump up. So there's a sweet spot where we can jump in. So the cost of delay is quite important for these canvases, because we want to make sure that we're deploying our capital in a particular time horizon that makes sense for running these projects. And what I mean by making sense is, perhaps in this particular project, based on the business value, we can wait for that. But maybe that wait in another one might be too long, that another canvas now, because we looked at the cost of delay, makes more sense. We want to deploy our money. Another canvas could be put money in the bank. And what we mean by that is we're not building out a business. We're just putting the money into investments, into paper, so to speak. And then that doesn't have a necessary cost of delay, but it's hard to predict market values. So just to put a summary and wrap around this, the cost of delay is just a way of looking at, if we wait, then how are our cost structures going to change, and is that going to create urgency on deploying that particular canvas. So it could be that the point of, if we have a deployment point, just say, for us to get this done based on the timeline, it might be something like this, where there's a jump in the cost of delay, but the only potential opportunity for us to deploy this project would be at this point in time. So maybe it doesn't make sense to pursue this particular project. There may be another project where the cost of delay is not so high, and it makes more sense to pursue that. So with that, I want to conclude the Lean Project Canvas examples here. They're very quick, very easy ways to get collaboration on a project, get a lot of ideas together. Another good point of this is you see that these spaces are not very big, so I can't write pages of proposal that not many people will read, or your lawyers will need to read it, and then you'll have to pay your lawyers in order to look at this. This is very important for getting these high-level conversations, having people around the table to debate this, maybe your board of directors or your project stakeholders, business stakeholders, to have these debates. Given that it's such a tight and easy to read document, it's easy to scan these points and to debate these points and to put these canvases up against each other, which canvas overall, based on the business value and the cost, is the one that we're going to move forward with this. And from there, once that canvas has been selected, if we need to do a more in-depth proposal, since we selected it, we're not spending all this time on generating multiple proposals, maybe 20, 40, or 60-page document proposals that might take us a couple weeks to a month to research and to develop. If we're to do that times 6 projects, now we wasted all that time, we wasted all those salaries, because it is going to take people to build those proposals, and we'll have to pay the people, or at least it's our time as the board of directors or stakeholders. That time, if we're spending on a lot of proposals, could have been out doing business development on the proposal that is going to move forward. So it just doesn't make sense to spend a lot of time on, if we're looking at 6 projects and 5 of them we're going to throw away the proposals, that's a lot of wasted time. So this helps to save that amount of time and bring us to a decision much faster. And it tends to be pretty accurate as well, compared to the long scale or large proposals that you always hear about budget overruns, and estimates are not matching up to what were first proposed. Happens quite a bit. With this, it can still happen, but I don't want to spend a lot of time to get to a wrong answer. In that case, if I do get the wrong answer, I'm not heavily invested with a lot of time on building one of these. I can just create a new one and go through the exercise again. And these can take about a half day to do. Yeah, us humans, we're very good at averaging things. We're looking at common patterns and identifying patterns and ranking patterns against other patterns. We're remarkably good at this. This style of tool actually taps into that. So thank you for following the series. If you have any questions, use the comments below, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.